this later, and you can watch it. Rafik looks like he's like really concentrating here. Okay, let's talk about this idea. This idea is very important in leadership. It's the idea of moral hazard. Let's go to Tendi. Tendi, do you know what moral hazard means?
Moral hazard, in my opinion, it's some things that happen,
hmm
but we just like a pass it.
Okay. Yes, Tendi says something that happens and we pass it. Let's go to Risky. Risky, what do you think moral hazard means?
To be honest, I have no idea, sir.
Okay, let's see, Rafik. Rafik, if you can hear us. Rafik, what do you think moral hazard means? Okay. Oh, poor Rafik. Rafik, it's okay. We got your back. We're recording this. All right, Ruth. Ruth, what do you think moral hazard means?
Still, no idea, sir.
Okay. Moral hazard, guys, is this, right? It means essentially when you're doing something and the negative effect never goes to you, right? So let's say, for example, you're doing something that's... we had a lot of moral hazard before in the bad old days of market building. So let's say a market builder would bring in a property, and that property would have a terrible relationship, and then they never had to deal with that relationship. Yes, it's essentially a bad attitude. The bad attitude doesn't come from, let's say, a bad... it comes from a situation where the feedback is broken. It comes from this idea. Do you guys know what a whipping boy is?
Mm, nope.
Okay, so before, let's say you're a prince, so you're the king's son, and you do something bad, right? Well, nobody can beat you because you're going to be the future king. So what they do is they assign a boy next to you, and they beat that boy instead. So whatever you do that's bad, the whipping boy gets punished for it. And so that's moral hazard. That creates a condition whereby the person never feels the feedback or never feels the incentive to change their behavior because somebody else always takes the punishment. Okay, and why this is important in leadership is leadership, a lot of times you will be in moral hazard. So a bad decision by a leader, they might not feel the impact of it for a while. They might just say, hey, look, we're going to decide to do this, and then that's it. But then it's sometimes a lot of the other people are the ones that are actually suffering and paying the bill and really not getting anything out of it. And so whenever we see moral hazard, just be aware and be cautious of it. Too much moral hazard after a time can lead to a lot of dissatisfaction. It comes many ways. It can come from, let's say, yeah, market builders bringing in property. It can come from me. It can come from me making decisions, and then maybe the guests get unhappy, and then the hosts are the one that actually suffer from it, right? Or it can come from me by making a decision, and then later on, online guest support gets criticized for something, and then they don't feel the feedback. So generally the way to deal with moral hazard is to actually step on toes, so that if you do see that, hey, look, you're making decisions that's making other people suffer, then the person who is, let's say, suffering should say something about it, not just be quiet. If you're quiet about it, then you continue the moral hazard, and the person making these decisions never improves, right? And the second part is be transparent. If this thing is happening, then we need to say that this is happening and not forget about it. Because I don't think that we hire or we actually retain people that want to hurt other people, right? That probably we would screen out. But moral hazard is essentially where you just don't feel it because it's not happening to you.
Yeah.
So definitely be aware of this concept because I think this concept is fairly important. Okay, so that's around moral hazard. Moral hazard can also be related to bonuses. So what happens is, let's say we pay bonuses, but people don't really deserve it, right? Because they haven't really done anything. But because we keep on paying bonuses, they think that they deserve the bonus without having to do anything. And then later when we ask you to perform, they go, what? I got paid bonuses before when I didn't do anything. Why do I have to perform now? And so these are all very important concepts with leadership. And so that's why we have things like measurement systems. That's why we have things like promotion reviews. It's actually to just reduce the risk of having moral hazard and having that system be tighter. Make sense?
Makes sense,
Okay.
sir.
All right, great. Okay, let's go into the next topic of discussion. I think we're going to bounce around a little bit. I think this one we can go ahead and delete. We've talked about this a number of times. Management mistrust we talked about already. Right. So I think this one was brought up a little bit about delegation, right? And I had a case of this today. Let's go to delegation. Tendi, have you had any successful delegation experiences this week?
Yes, sir. So I delegate revenue to Chandra,
Uh-huh.
and then it's doing well.
Okay.
I want to monitor the result.
Okay, fantastic. So you delegated revenue management to Chandra, and she's doing well. Great. What about you, Risky? Have you had any delegation experiences today this week?
I did. I delegate the Booking.com 2.3 charges to all of the air support, right, sir? So
Okay.
I made one group that's from air support 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
Okay.
And they broadcasted the information to the operation group of all our partner
Okay.
in Booking. And it went well. It
Okay.
all good.
Great, fantastic. That's really good. And what, Ruth, is the same between both these cases? How did Tendi and Risky delegate and know that they're doing well? What do they have to do?
Mm.
To Ruth. I asked Ruth the question. Just have to monitor it, Ruth, yeah? Have to monitor it. What's really important about delegating is don't forget that you delegated something to somebody. So when you delegate it doesn't mean forget about it, right? It means that you've given them the work, but ultimately you're still responsible for the results of that work. So let's say, for example, I say, hey, babysit my kid, right? Simple example. It doesn't mean I forget about my kid and I just go, all right, I do whatever I want. It means I should still monitor. I should still say, hey, can you send me a picture of my kid? So I see what they're doing. And as long as I get, okay, my kid's sleeping, that's the way it should be, so on and so forth, then it's okay. Bad delegation is if you don't monitor, if you just go, okay, I gave it to them, and then that's the last time you check or care or do anything. So that's important about delegating. So I'll give another case today of delegation that was kind of interesting. So I'll show you what we've done and the power of delegation. So what I did was I gave a beat that I normally work on. I'm sharing my screen right now, but okay, I'll show you what it is. Ibu Kanha at Villa Kanha came to me today, and she said, hey, Jing, I'm not happy. And I asked her, hey, Ibu, why are you not happy? She said, well, look at the calendar. And I looked at the calendar at Kanha, and it was essentially all empty, right? So she kept on asking me this. She said, hey, Jing, are you going to fill this up, or is it going to stay empty? I said, I'm going to fill this up. And she said, if you don't fill it up, I want another agent to help me fill it up. Is that okay? So then I started getting confused. I was like, what's going on here? And so I did a little bit more research, and what I found out was I had delegated this to somebody else, right? I delegated this, and during the meantime, Risky's smiling, right? Risky's smiling. And I think in the meantime, I didn't monitor. And so when I didn't monitor, I saw that something new had happened, which was this had never happened before. We had never gotten such a long period without a booking. So basically, I had noticed that this was a double delegation. I had delegated once to a person who's smiling and once to a person who isn't here. And that's where I think delegation can be actually kind of challenging. Wait, airplane. Okay. Where delegation can be a little bit challenging because we have to understand what the delegates are actually doing. And I think in this particular case, the communication needs to be very... it's almost like when you delegate, you have to be able to budget. You're going to budget some of your work, your operation time away, but you have to increase now your communication overhead because you need to know what is the result of that, and I need to understand what has happened. So in this particular case, the new delegate is Dominic on this one now, and I'm working with her to actually create that relationship with the owner again, so that we don't have these lapses that happen. But delegation, I think, is an art, and it is something I'd rather everyone just be a little bit more careful on. Don't think of it as, hey, look, I'm letting somebody else do the work. Think of it as like I'm sharing. I'm sharing, like the way you share a pizza, right? You don't sort of like share a pizza and then forget about your own half of the pizza. Still think about like you're sharing essentially the experience, but at the end you need to reconnect and see if the experience was fully understood. So that's a little bit on practical case of delegation. And Diba has mentioned this too before. She tries to delegate, but she's called back to work on PCI work. Oh, Tendi wrote about that. Tries to delegate, but being called back, and this could be a chance to delegate more often. Okay, all right. Let's go to Rafik. Rafik said Villa Camila. Villa Camila, BV provides better service and owner engagement bigger. Rafik, let's try for still hard, yeah, Rafik? Okay. Does anybody else know about the Villa Camila case? Tendi? Risky? No. Okay. All right. Rafik, we're going to have to pass on this particular case since the communication over to Jimbaran right now is a little bit slow. But let's see what other new business can we do. All right, good. Oh, wow, Tendi, very good. So, okay, this is Tendi's delegation, and he was watching and monitoring correctly to make sure that Chandra had done her part of the thing. Okay, so, Tendi, can I move this over to old business, Tendi?
Sure, sir.
Okay, all right, fantastic. So I'll move that over to old business now. And let's take a look over and see this. All right, mentoring and training new candidates. Okay. Oh, all right. Let's see if the new candidate understands this, yeah? All right, here's a new candidate right here, Rafik. So let's see if the new candidate knows what we're talking about. Ruth, what is the Socratic method?
Socratic method is when what I did with Tita, like we are discussing something in a form of question and answer session.
Okay.
Through web conference.
All right.
Yeah, because we didn't meet each other in person.
Got it. And why is the Socratic method good for learning?
Because we can understand others better, and we can share our ideas. For example, when I know something but it's not complete, the other person can add up, and yeah, we can have a profound understanding.
Interesting, a profound understanding. Okay, in terms of Socratic method, what's another method that oftentimes is worse and less engaging than the Socratic method? What are some maybe less engaging, less profound ways to teach?
Less engaging to teach is just a lecture method, a traditional lecture method. So we just give them the theories without asking whether they understand or not, and then they just ask to read the materials, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, what method am I using with you right now?
Socratic method?
Yes, you just noticed that, yeah? Okay, all right, good. Okay, Rafik, good. So it seems like new candidates are using the Socratic method, and there's also these hospitality best practices material here that they can study. Okay, fantastic. Tendi asks, how to make the person contribute more to your squad, delegate more work to new persons, hand off for seniors, make sure we hire people with high bias to action, self-learning, and a growth mindset. Tendi, does that answer your question, or would you have anything more that you would like to ask about how to get more effective work out of new people?
Yeah, I think that's all the question is
Answered. Okay, fantastic, very good. So, Tendi, in that case, I'll just go ahead and move this over to old business, and we will continue looking at the rest of what we do. All right. Nungli asked about some of our future planning, and I've defined it here as well. So Nungli asked, okay, what is Bukit Vista going to be in the next 2 to 3 years? And what I think it's going to be, ladies and gentlemen, is essentially a service company. So essentially, if you think about what most hotels do now, what do? They essentially hire large teams of people to do a simple job. So what if instead of actually hiring a team and then having an HR team do this and that, what if you could spread the best, most innovative people across a large number of properties, such as what we do? So then you become a service company. So instead of actually like hiring a person to do front office, why don't you just have check-ins as a service as a hotel? Why don't you have guest communication as a service? Why don't you do complaint management as a service, guest delight as a service, refund management as a service, review management as a service, reservations as a service, revenue management as a service, social media management as a service, digital marketing as a service, market growth as a service. So essentially what Bukit Vista will do, I think in the future, is essentially just provide these services. So in order to, let's say, if a hotel wants to innovate and they want to scale up, they can just buy more services from us. They can just say, now that I'm good, I want this service. Now that I'm good, I want this service. Look at us. It takes us quite a long time to actually build a service into production. We need to hire the person, train the person, get the culture right, and make sure we retain the quality people. So a hotel would be doing exactly the same thing, but the problem a lot of hotels face is that they are kind of like on innovation plateaus. They are not environments where people are innovating. So no matter who you hire today, if that same person doesn't really innovate in 3 or 4 years' time, they're going to be behind. But if you hire Bukit Vista and Bukit Vista innovates the entire sort of thing for you, then no matter what, your services should always be running at a top level quality. Let's go around and see what we think about that idea. Let's go to Risky. Risky, what do you think about hospitality management as a service in terms of a vision for the future of this company?
Spread, inspire, delight.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay, so Risky is on board with that. Let's go to Tendi. Tendi, what do you think about hospitality management as a service?
Build a good relationship between the guest and partner, and then have a long future plan with them.
Yes, okay. How can we make that into a service, Tendi? So how can we actually create essentially these long-term relationships with partners and guests?
By the future plan, like revenue projection to the guest, to the partner,
Okay.
and then for the guest is like social media.
Okay,
like,
very good.
engage with Starbucks and
Okay. These are all tools, Tendi. So in order to create, let's say, a vision around these tools, social media and revenue management, these are all tools that we offer to sort of create this thing. What are we really trying to create? Let's go to Risky. Risky, what are we trying to create with, let's say, our future partners and also our current partners and also our future guests? There's a certain word that starts with the letter C that I'm thinking of.
I'm thinking of what we're aiming is a long-term relationship.
Yep. And what is a long-term relationship usually called?
The words start with C.
Yes, a word that starts with C. Let's see, Ruth. Ruth, would you care to guess?
Commitment.
Commitment. Okay, that's interesting. Commitment is part. The first few letters are right. Community. We're looking to actually build a community. So let's go back to what Tendi was mentioning. If you have a community of partners, then the community should grow on its own, meaning that partners will find other partners, and you don't have to like spend so much time acquiring new partnerships. If you have a community, then what it means is that people understand why they're there. It's like why they join religious groups, professional groups, or interest groups. So if we do really think about how we want to create that, then we need to think about how we create a community. Social media is one way to create a community. It's a way for everyone to feed off the same information and the same content. The revenue management is a way to create a community, a certain type of investment community. Everyone's concerned about like what is the future budget that I will need to plan on to get. So these are all sort of tools, but the underlying principle is how do you create that community, and that's something that we I think we're on the dawn of creating a community. Currently, we seem to have a one-on-one relationship with all the guests and one-on-one relationship with all the partners, but guests don't have relationships with guests, right? And partners don't necessarily have relationships with partners. So in order to do that, we have to like find a way to bring them more together so that they can discover themselves and they can actually entertain themselves more. One of the things that I thought was pretty cool was we have hundreds of check-ins every day, right? So that's like 200-300 guests. What if we say, hey, look, why don't you go on this group and you can hang out with some of the other groups that are checking in today, right? So if you want to do something, maybe instead of Bukit Vista organizing, you can let them self-organize. You can say, hey, look, there's a bunch of group deals or big vans or whatnot that will give you special rates, or there's a bunch of these restaurants that will give you special rates if you show up with 6. Why don't you go in this group and start saying who you all want to hang out with, right? I think there's a lot of information in our community that we don't know. There are salsa dancers, there are scientists, there are all kinds of people with special skills. And on holiday, some people want privacy and they want to be with a couple, but some people want adventure. Some people want to meet like-minded other people. And they're all strangers, but we are not. We can connect them all together. Taking that and applying it to, let's say, a business community of all the other people who are potential partners, there are people who are very advanced along on their relationship with us. They've been partners with us for 3-4 years, but there are people who are maybe a year away from building their first property. How do we get these people to talk to each other? How do we get them to connect? How do we get them to share so that maybe they can spread best practices? So as long as we can do that, then our community will always be there. And as long as we lead our community, we'll always have a place in that community too as well. Okay, so that's a little bit around the vision of where we want to go into the future. So yes, management services for a community-driven tourism. Let's go around, see if anybody has any further thoughts. Ruth, do you have any further thoughts you'd like to add to that?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Tendi raised his hand. Tendi, what would you like to say?
Yes, I'm agree as well for that. Usually, so far that what I did so far for for example like a simple example with the gas.
Mhm.
Sometimes in Uluwatu before I like put the gas and then sometimes I said, do you want to watch the dance, Kecak dance? And then, oh yes, I want that. And then I go to the other properties. It's like a 3 or 4 people have a same vision, have a same wants, and then even there's like in the different properties. I make that like hey okay we can meet in this point and then we can go with I have friends also from the other properties so we go there together.
Yeah.
So they actually have a conversation more
Yeah.
and they also like a sharing when they go back to the airport.
Yeah.
They can share the transport
Yeah.
as well. So it's like a the community so far for the guests.
I think that's beautiful, Tendi. You created a mini groupie group. Yeah, you created a clique, and a lot of things in Uluwatu are perfect for that. I went to Sunset Point in Uluwatu, the new Sunset place, right?
Yeah.
It's huge now, huge.
Pool and rooftop bar.
Yeah, they got a pool and rooftop and Instagram like chairs all over the place. Really amazing. But also, I think that's a great place to create a community. You can go there with a bunch of Bukit Vista guests, and you can all just sort of like have a more interesting time, right? Everyone can talk. It's very relaxing, and we're all just waiting for the sunset. So it's a very naturally inviting type place. Okay, great. So let's continue then. Risky, did you have anything that you'd like to say about this idea of community?
I do have one
Okay.
thing, sir.
Yes.
Maybe we can make like Bukit Vista experience. So let's say a guest gonna be traveling to Bali like a week,
Mhm.
and then he's gonna be choosing the accommodation and the transport as well, right? So why don't we just make in one website, let's say a website or a software,
Mhm.
and there the guest can choose which kind of experience that they want to have.
I agree.
Let's say a nightlife experience or maybe a beach. So it'll stroll around the beach experience or maybe a bit of hiking or a mountain experience. So
Yes,
we
sir.
would go to around Kintamani and then from that maybe if people from they're the one that choose the nightlife experience, they will gather around together.
Ah,
then
yeah, and go to Hats together.
so they have their own mini community again from our own website or software that we made.
I think that's great. I think that's actually really good. That's why we have a bigger content team now, so we can actually
Yep.
work on these things. Bring that up. Bring that up as a project to content, and maybe that can be a new innovation for experience. Just think of a simple MVP to get that out there. I brought, tell you what, I brought Ulrika, who was one of our guests in Canggu for a month. I brought her on a really kind of personalized tour. I went to this special spot that I like to show people that oversees Nyang Beach, and below there's a temple. And we sort of went on a spontaneous trip just to look at Balinese temples. So we went to one temple, and I read Skala Niskala a long time ago about how temples are built, and we talked about that. Then we looked at like this beautiful like cliff top overlooking the beach, and then we tried out like some random foods. She was really delighted at the end. She said, "Wow, this is a really interesting way to see this neighborhood that wouldn't have been the same had we not had been there." So I think you can be a chef for experiences. You can kind of craft together the types of things that you enjoy doing, and share this with the future guest. And Risky, I'm sure you want to do that because that way you can get out of the office more often, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do need to get out of the office more often.
Yeah. So great ideas. Great ideas. All right, Ruth, you were saying something.
Oh, okay. So actually, by creating a community here, I have one idea. I believe in Bali there are a lot of events like international events, for example, musical events, and then cultural or historical event. I think we can provide ourselves as the service to provide the accommodation. So, for example, there is an event in Nusa Dua, and we have a lot of lot of property is there. Then why don't we collaborate with the event organizer, and we can provide the accommodation, and then we can also provide the transport for our place to the event place, and yeah, by so we are doing a community of the people going to the same events, and they are staying in the same place with us.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's part of
Even
your.
we can put our name as well in the event.
Yeah.
So there's a
Sponsor the
Bukit
event.
Vista as a
Yeah.
sponsor.
Hey, wait, what a great OKR. Make that part of your OKRs for November then, yeah? We're coming into November, so think about that for the objective key results. It's part of process excellence. In fact, it's a new process. So the new process is how to actually create a more engaging trip experience for a guest that involves others. I do believe a lot of people, if introduced properly by a host, can actually be pretty good travel buddies. And that would then make it easy for you don't have to host them, you just get them to host each other, and it's essentially like a cocktail party. You introduce this guest to this guest, and then they have a conversation, and then you go somewhere else, you introduce two other guests, and then they have a conversation, and then you just sort of mingle and make sure the conversation flows. Okay, great, fantastic. Really good discussion about community and future behavior about what we're going to do. All right, so yes, Tendi.
Can you go back a little in the new business?
Yes, let's go take a look at new business. Learning management system.
I think like I think like what you said before. It's like for now it's more for the coaching and mentoring. It's like a one by one, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like by person, but you have to set like if you have like a thousand people, new people, how to teach them. I think like for the learning materials, learning management system.
Ensure that your e-learning solution is integrated in.
Sorry. Okay. You're saying?
Program that you can give the course to them and then
Okay.
can monitoring them.
I agree.
So maybe if you watch the video, maybe something can start from beginning for the new learning system.
How can you influence Ruth's progression as a learner with this new idea, Tendi?
Maybe I just starting, so I just want to know more about the system first.
Okay.
Then maybe I will try like some MVP for new people.
And I think that's great, Tendi. What you're noticing is that there's a new innovation need, right? So before we're training people one by one, but now we're bringing on more people. So we can't really do one by one. We need a system, a learning system. And so that's pretty much, that's how everything evolved here. Before we didn't need to have air support because the person who was doing like hosting could do it at the same time. But yeah, you're right. Perhaps learning in itself is actually a separate system now that needs to be developed. Okay, good stuff on that, Tendi. So let's do this then. Let's have everyone on the guild watch this video and then come back with some comments on it next time, yeah? So that way we, okay, so we'll have request all guild to watch this video and return with comments. Okay, all right, I wrote that in and that'll take a second to actually pop up over on the other side. Okay, so let's see. Oh yeah, or actually this part has already been done with Rafik. Let me move that over to old business now. Okay, and then this part I've already explained. Right, actually I haven't explained this part yet. Let me talk about this. Tendi, how often are you using experimental templates to guide your innovation?
Which template, sir?
Very good. All right, let's go. Good question. All right, let's go to Risky. Risky, how often are you using experimental templates to guide your innovation?
Not sure what the experimental template is.
Well, good thing that we're looking at this now, yeah? Okay, let me give you an example of an experimental template. So in order to actually innovate, you need to see where you're going and you need to see where you've been. We've used experimental templates a few times, and I'll give you a few examples of that. Revenue projections, right? Revenue projections are always experiments because we are using essentially some assumptions whenever we do a revenue projection. So over time, we will get better by reducing the amount of error on our revenue projections, but we need to be able to see how each experiment works, right? So let's say, for example, let's see, what's something Tendi's been working on, right? I don't know. Maybe Tendy's working on improving the hospitality score, right? So you're trying to get that 95% satisfaction. Air support will coordinate the day before with the host to make sure that everything is already clean, so that we have at least half a day to fix it in case it's not, right? So let's say you implement that program and you run it for 3 months and you see that, oh my God, we went from having 90% or 89% hospitality satisfaction to 97%. Then you would know that that's working. That's actually good. But let's say, for example, you tried something else. Let's say, for example, you tried using turn down service. So you told your team, let's do turn down service for all the guests, and we're going to try to raise the hospitality rate. But let's say it's at 89%, and then it doesn't change. It's still at 89% after 2 months of using turn down service. So then you would also know that turn down service maybe doesn't really affect the hospitality rate that much. Now, the key to doing that is an experimental template. You need to write down what was it that you were trying to do, and then you need to really remember what the result was. So often what we do is we don't have experimental templates. We just have like Jakarta. So it's essentially one layer of the city is built, then another layer of the city is built, then another layer of the city is built. So it keeps on getting pancaked down, and nobody remembers which layer was best, what was working. It doesn't even, it's not innovation. It's just sort of like new layers on top of old layers. So when you have an innovation, when you have an experimental template, essentially you need to record down, okay, what is it that you're trying to do? So this is a case that I've spoken about. This is in revenue management, and I don't know why, but my formatting is all messed up now. So I'll try to get the formatting back. Give me a second here. I don't know what happened. Okay, let's go to Tendi. Tendi, did what I say make sense? Are you sort of more clear on what an experimental template is? Or is it...
How about it? I saw on your paper is you make this before
Booking.
before and after, right?
Mm-hmm.
How about like in the middle is like the SWOT analysis? What is the strong from the previous?
Okay.
What is the weakness, so you can compare it with the next.
Sure. It's a little bit different than SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis you do in the beginning, Tendi, to understand the situation of what's going on. But SWOT analysis is not something that you do continuously. It's sort of like, let's say, for example, you want to decide whether or not Bukit Vista should open in Ubud. So you do a SWOT analysis. You go, okay, strengths. There's a lot of villas in Ubud. Weakness, maybe we're very far away from base. Opportunity, there's more growth in Ubud. And threat, there's other competitors in Ubud that could take away our opportunity. So once you do that, then you have to go ahead with a plan, right? So the SWOT analysis just tells you before you make a plan whether or not to do that or not. So you look at the SWOT and then you're able to balance. You say, okay, all right, I see that there's a lot of good things here. There are some bad things, but I'm still going to make that decision. I'm going to go ahead. But once you go ahead, you need to come back and ask, what's the key result that you're looking to do? So if you're saying I'm going to go to Ubud, what does success look like? Does success look like 100,000 of new revenue? Does success look like 3 new properties this week? Does success look like 18 partnerships? What does success look like? So then once you've determined that, that's your KPI, right? So now you have a KPI. I'm going to use revenue, room nights, number of partnerships as my metric of success. Then you just define your time. When do you want to do that? So then if you see that, okay, I'm going to get 3 partnerships this week and you only bring in 1, then you know that something's not working, right? But then what is it that you're working on? What is your method? What is your technique? Maybe you're trying to, let's say, use drone canvassing followed up by lead conversion followed up by that. And so this is your method. And you're saying that, this is really slow. It's not working. Maybe then you come up and you pivot and you come up with a different idea. So your second experiment is, I'm going to use an ad. I'm going to put an ad in all the yoga newspapers in Ubud and see what happens. And maybe that works. Maybe now you're getting 3 partnerships a week. And so then the experiment has proven itself. The second experiment of putting an ad has worked better than the first experiment of using, let's say, canvassing and drone deploy. So that's just an example. I'm not saying that's actually going to happen, right? But the idea is that if you have experiments and you have a template, then you can progressively innovate. Otherwise, you'll just kind of go from one idea to the next idea to the next idea, and you won't even you'll just do it like fashion. It'll just be like sort of just, my mood is different today, so I'll try something different. But it shouldn't be like fashion. It should be like, all right, what works, what doesn't work, what works but doesn't work completely, and then as you get that, you'll have a better and better process. and revenue projections can work like that. Hospitality can work like that too. So let's say right now you're seeing a lot of red. You go into the analytics and you look at like the community management and you see, oh my God, there's all this red stuff, right? So you don't need to do a SWOT analysis right now on this. You already know that this is threats. So all you need to do is you need to come up with an experiment. You're going to say, hey, what I predict is I'm going to start today on October 25th, and I'm going to have a towel supply here at Bukit Vista, right? So we're just going to buy 50 towels and we're just going to put them in base. And then whenever the hosts see that the towel's not clean, they're going to go jack a towel over, right? And so that can just be a simple experiment. And then the point of that experiment is to reduce the amount of complaints related to linens and towels. So then you run that for, let's say, a month. And you say that, okay, in the month of September, I had 20 complaints about linens and towels. And then in October, after I started the experiment, I had 0 complaints about linen and towels. So then you'll know that that experiment worked, right? So that's the point of having an experimental template. And the way to set it up, ladies and gentlemen, is essentially like this. So you just you need to record the date. Super important. You need to be able to remember when did you start this, because sometimes it'll be confusing. Sometimes you'll be, okay, I'm moving along, but maybe the problem just takes care of itself. Maybe you're not getting any bookings, and then you decide to change something, but then you get bookings. Well, you got bookings maybe not because you changed something, but because it's December 31st and it's Christmas Eve and everything's just booking now. So you need to write down the date. That's the first part. Then you need to write down who came up with this idea so that we'll know where to go to. Maybe you came up with the idea, maybe the owner came up with the idea, maybe your colleague came up with the idea, but write down where the idea is coming from so that we can always trace back and understand where these ideas are coming from. And then you write down what you actually want to do. So this is an example of Ibu Lily, right? She's saying that I want this price for this and this price for that. And then I said, okay, fine. And you write all this down as part of the experiment. You write down what this is going to do. And then you take a look at what's happening before, and then you take a look at what's happening after. Now, after you do that, then you should be able to tell if your experiment worked or not. If it worked, then you get the results that you're hoping for. If it doesn't, then you don't get the results you're looking for, and it didn't work. Pivot, move to the next experiment, and keep on going. So using experimental templates, I think, will make the entire organization better, faster, and also more innovative too as well. Make sense? Okay, let's see if you guys really understand this. I'm going to use the Socratic method. All right, Tris, can you give me an example of an innovation template, of an experimental template that you could use to be more effective in finding more leads?
Innovation template.
Yes.
Experiment. Innovation template. Which side, sir? I mean, which innovation we're looking for?
So let's say we're innovating on more lead efficiency, right? So let's say, how would we create a template to develop better lead efficiency?
I think it's like gimana? Kayak inovasi gitu, buat inovasi. I think it's like we're looking for something new that's something just like.
Okay. All right. We look for something new. That's absolutely part of innovation, Tris. We look for something new. But what should we do? What should we do? What would the setup of an experiment look like? What would it sound like?
Sekarang kamu lakukan eksperimen apa?
For me, it's experiments. It's like apa ya?
Okay, let's go to Tendy. Tendy, help Tris out here, yeah? Can you think of an experiment that Tris can do that would actually help improve his canvassing efficiency?
Yes, sir. This can do like maybe experiment in Ubud, like make advertise like a brochure or paper, like put in the event in Ubud, maybe in the market, like market in Ubud.
Yep.
And then put this is Bukit Vista. If you have like a practice, you can join with us.
Okay.
Check our website and everything.
Great.
Like that can be get the.
Okay, fantastic. Very good. Very good. All right. And then what does Tris need to do in order to make that template correct? He needs to record a few things. He needs to write down his idea.
the data that Krishna can collect.
Yeah.
So Krishna can do first. What is the audience that going to the Ubud market
Okay. Very good.
first, and then is it like what is the criteria to join with Bukit Vista? Maybe
Okay.
I can
All right.
prepare.
Very good.
And maybe to write down the contact person of Bukit
Okay.
Vista and
Okay.
social media website,
Okay.
and then in the below maybe we ready to meet you.
Okay. Trish has an idea of going to the Ubud market. Tendi has an idea of amplifying that message by adding the contact person. What else do we need in order for the experiment to be more level? What do we need in the experimental data? We need to know what?
Hmm.
The measurement, of course.
The measurements
The
of
key
what?
result.
Okay, all right. Let's go to Ruth. What else do we need in that experiment in order to make the experiment valid?
The date, the source before we do the experiment, and then after we do the experiment to see whether the experiment works or not.
Very good, Ruth. All right, fantastic. Newest person here. Congratulations. All right. So Ruth is absolutely right. So what you need to do before you go out, is you need to know what your KPI is, right? What are you trying to improve? So let's say, for example, currently you're getting about 3 leads a day, right? So you're going to try this experiment so that you get more than 3 leads a day, right? So that should be the first thing that you're looking to improve. You're looking to improve the lead income rate. And so the second thing you need to do is you need to record the day when you start it. So if you start the experiment, let's say on a Tuesday, and it doesn't do really well, but then it becomes Sunday, then you can see maybe it has something to do with the timing, right? Maybe your timing wasn't right or the timing was better. So that way you're more conscious of how timing affects things. As we know in life, 99% of success is timing. If you have good timing, then more successful. So definitely recording the time is important. And then recording the key result before and the key result after. If you're getting 3 leads a day right now, and then you do this experiment, you put these ads up in the brochures in Ubud Market, and you still get 3 leads a day, then what does that tell you about this experiment, Ruth?
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work because you're getting the same result, right? So with the experiment or without it, you're getting the same result. So it's about the same. It doesn't really matter. So then you'll know yourself. Gentlemen, have been something we've been working on in Squad 4. I don't think this has been actually socialized to Squad 2 and Squad 1 yet, right? But it is really, really powerful because content people, for example, are doing constant experiments on the lead photo. So they will keep on changing. I'll show you an example of an experimental template again. So let's take a look at this. This is the lead photo at Villa Olala, right? So the lead photo began as this photo. I'm waiting for it to load. Wait, it's there. Okay. The lead photo began as an evening shot, and I know it doesn't look like anything right now, but just bear with me. Okay, wait. Let me zoom in. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see that, but that was the first lead photo. So the first lead photo was an evening shot over a floating breakfast tray of Villa Olala, and you can see the first photo got this type of results: 203 impressions, 1.8% CTR. So then the next photo we went through was a second experiment, and we started with a drone over photo, and I know you can't see that, but it shows. Oh God, come on. Okay, come on, go away. Can't win, yeah? I can't win when I zoom in. I can't win when I zoom out. Okay, so we had a slight improvement on the CTR. It went from 1.8% to 2%. Okay, and then we changed again. We changed to a third photo, and this shows the swing chair overlooking a balcony. Same villa, just different angle. And that also got us an improvement on the impressions, but it went down on the CTR. But it was okay. We left it going on. We left it for a while, and eventually it got to 2.7% CTR, but a lower number of impressions. Okay, finally, we changed the photo entirely. We took some photos of people kayaking in front of the villa on the lagoon, and that got to a 3.7% CTR, which is the highest CTR it's ever been, and 279 impressions, which is the highest impressions it's ever been, and then a trending up on all impressions after that. Okay, so
Sir,
yes.
Can you tell us again what is CTR?
Click-through rate. Click-through rate.
Click-through rate.
Yeah,
Okay.
that means you effectively can. Once again, the KPI for measuring a successful lead photo is click-through rate. If the lead photo is very attractive, then you're going to go and click through it. Think about the cover of a book, right? If the cover of a book is really attractive and it looks awesome, then you kind of want to read it, right? So you open the book. That's a CTR. That means somebody went. Like a movie poster. If a movie poster is really attractive and someone goes and talks to the box office and says, "Can I buy a movie ticket?" then that movie poster is very good CTR. So what effectively a good image is an image that gets you a high CTR. If 100 people come and see your image and 100 people click on it, then you have 100% CTR, which is impossible. That never happens, right? But let's say 100 people see it and 4 people click on it. That's 4%. That's in the internet world. That's pretty good. That's super good, right? If you get above 3% in the internet world, you're doing good. So that's an experimental template. Make sense, guys?
Makes sense, sir.
Okay. This is the engine of innovation. So whenever you innovate, don't forget that you're not ever going to stop innovating. You're going to come up with new ideas all the time. But you need to know how these ideas are actually impacting the key performance indexes. Okay? All right. Very good. I think we actually ran out of time today. It's already 4 o'clock. So we'll conclude this leadership guild. And let's go around and see what we can talk about next time. Risky, was there anything that we should talk about next time? Before the next guild? Okay, Risky's offline. Let's go to 10.
Probably I just want to know what is the main goal
Of Leadership Guild. The main goal of Leadership...
Hello? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Risky. The main goal of Leadership Guild is to talk about leadership issues, right? So some of the things that we do are operational issues, like, how to handle a guest complaint, how to train teams, and actually training team is more leadership now too. But they're essentially like new issues that have a lot to do with leadership. So, for example, delegation. Delegation was a very, very difficult leadership issue. And the leaders previously didn't really have a place to talk about it. They would all try different ways and with varying degrees of success or failure. So Leadership Guild is really a place to talk about leadership issues. They're generally the newest issues. They're about human resource, not human resource per se, but just like organizing teams, leading teams, guiding a mission, creating a vision, fixing conflicts between people, these type of things that are, this is what the leader should do, right? Whenever you hear that, hey, this is what the leader should do, be a leader yourself and just join the Leadership Guild and be the change that you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said. So it's really an opportunity to actually develop leadership skills and also leadership consciousness and ability. Yeah? Okay, like the idea of moral hazard. Moral hazard is something that's very leadership issue, right? If you have a company with a lot of moral hazard, then you're going to have a morally conflicted company where people are doing things that are not quite aligned with anything. So that's the vision of the Leadership Guild.
Okay.
All right, fantastic. Let's go to Tendi. Tendi, was there anything covered today that you would like to, or is there anything that wasn't covered today that you would like to have covered on the next Leadership Guild?
Maybe continue to the learning management system.
Ah, yes. Okay, right. So we've already set that up for everybody. Please watch the learning management system that Tendi has shared on this guild, so that way we can have an intelligent conversation about it next time. Yeah, we can watch the video and come back with some discussion. Okay, great. Trishna, was there anything that you'd like to learn on the Leadership Guild that was not talked about today?
I just want to more like time blocking.
Oh, time management. All right, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, time management is a really good subject. Okay, I like that because as leaders, I think that's one of our most important resources is how to manage time, as I often tell my wife, and she tells me back. Okay, last one to Ruth. Ruth, was there anything in this guild that you would like to have discussed at the next guild meeting?
Probably, I want to learn more about the structure, the organization structure.
Okay.
And this company, and yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Fantastic. Very good.
So
Okay.
that everyone, the newcomers, will know exactly what we are doing here.
That's great. Okay, fantastic. I think we lost the connection. Okay, guys, I'm going to upload this video. I know you guys can't hear me right now, but I'm just speaking to the camera. So thank you guys for joining in today, and have a nice day.